Is above the law.
Joe Biden has already proven he's willing to stand up for the rule of law and
that he does not plan to pardon or commute his son.
No one is above the law.
And that he has ruled out pardoning his own son.
And the contrast is so clear in terms of decency and principle.
Nobody is above the law.
I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
The contrast to how Trump has behaved, how Trump has treated the rule of law, this was a good day for the system.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
You ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
As current president of the United States, has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, again, it's all about the contrast.
This week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and Joe Biden has very clearly said he would not pardon his son, he would not commute
Charges.
Right.
He is not doing that. He is not doing it because he is living what it means to have a rule of law in this country.
He would pardon his son. He has said no. On the other side,
everyone understands he's a decent man. You know, the president said he won't touch it. He said he's not going to pardon his son.
The president has said that he will not pardon his son.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
ABC News Special Report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis at ABC News headquarters here in New York. We're coming on the air this hour with breaking news. President Biden has just pardoned his son Hunter on gun and tax.
Air with breaking news tonight. President Biden has made a decision to pardon his son Hunter.
President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Hours after he announced the pardon of his son Hunter on tax and gun charges.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above.
Yeah, that's how they go, man. Nobody is above the law. Well, good evening. It is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Welcome to episode 89 of Porterhouse and Teal Live. And that's a little bit of a different way to start our broadcast. We've never done it that way before. But I felt that it was appropriate given that Joe Biden and the establishment that has enabled his presidency has yet again reminded the American people and the world of their dishonesty. The title of this broadcast is Who is Really Running the Country? Which is completely appropriate since good old Joe Biden has departed the country for Angola to another continent over in Africa. Which totally makes sense because he's a president who's been absent nearly as much as he's been actually in the White House. So again, that begs the question, who is really running the country? And we'll get to that among other commentary here later on in the broadcast. But we're joining you post-Thanksgiving, and I hope that everybody had a great Thanksgiving with their family. And yeah, man, there's always so much to be thankful for, not only on Thanksgiving Day, but every day that we wake up on the right side of the pillow. It's really, I look at it kind of like a new opportunity to write the story of how we want to live the remainder of our lives and how we want to be remembered. And so every day, in my opinion, should be a day of thanks. But what happened for us this year was a little bit different. Due to we had a few people in our family that got sick, and one of those people getting sick was me. And we decided this year, after 24 years of a tradition, that we would we would opt out of hosting this year. And I guess I'll let you talk a little bit more about the decision to do that, Rebecca. But before we do that, as always, how are you doing this evening?
I'm a little sad
I'm sad because I was going to go out and I was going to pick some basil, and the basil gave up on me. He finally gave up. Just couldn't handle the cold weather.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are giving up out there right now because we did have a little bit of a week of some frosty temperatures, and it's affecting some of our other crops. But yeah. What's up, Spags? How are you doing, man? Been a while. I haven't seen you, but hope things are well with you and yours, and managed to make it through the cold snap. I guess you guys had a little bit of cold out there in the Midwest, but you're used to it, and just a sign of the times, man. Things are chilling down for us.
Now, I want to go back to that comment about the right side of the pillow.
Mm-hmm.
Where do your pillows usually end up?
All over the bed.
There we go. So where's the right side?
I don't know. Why do women have to have 12 pillows on the bed? I don't know.
Because they're pretty.
Yeah, I know. We need room to sleep, don't we? So they end up where they end up. But yeah, Thanksgiving was pretty cool. Were you going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving?
I was.
Yeah.
We started doing that tradition when we first moved into this house, and every year we take a group picture. We've brought that up before, where we watch them, and there's back to back. You're literally watching all of the family members grow up. Some leave us in front of, right in front of your eyes. So we have new ones who enter. So we have happiness with sad. This year, that's one of the things that we'll be missing out on, was that group picture.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to, for the very first time, actually do the turkey trot. Usually I'm home cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And other family members are able to go and do the turkey trot. So this year, I have to give thanks to Eric for running it with me, coaching me, pacing me, keeping me on track as I'm saying, I can't do this. I'm dying. And he's like, no, you can't. You can do it. Come on, keep going.
Yeah. Well, maybe just a little backstory, because, when you say turkey trot, maybe some people don't know what that is, but most communities have a turkey trot on Thanksgiving. And usually it's some type of a 5K run type walk thing where families can come out. And, it's not really that competitive, although, anytime you put a bib on somebody and they're timing themselves, it becomes competitive for a lot of people. But there's people out there who are running hard, and there's people out there that are just kind of going out and walking with their kids or their dog or whatever. And so, that's something that we did together this year, and it was pretty cool. I paced her for the entire 6 miles.
6 miles, yeah.
It was a 6 mile deal, but
it was my best time. It was a 10-minute pace.
Yeah. That's not bad for a 63-year-old, right?
That's right. And I'm positive I was going to die when I got to the end.
No, you did fantastic, and that's awesome.
One of the things that I really hate when I was actually running the ultras with Eric is you would pass people and they would say, "You're almost there," and that is one of the lines that I just can't stand, because usually when they say that to you, you still have another couple miles to go.
Yeah, or
you're not really almost there.
Yeah, I know that's a little frustrating, but the longer you do this sort of thing, you'll realize you don't take that too much to heart. You just keep running until you get there. And
this time, as we're getting ready to cross the bridge, which is going to bring you into the finish line, there's a person that's saying you're almost there. I could let that go, except for I saw this banner that said start, and then I saw finish line. And so I just stepped on the gas because I thought, okay, I'm gonna make that. And it was kind of a little bit of an incline, and I got there, and that wasn't the finish line, and my heart was like pounding out of my chest.
Yeah, it happens. But anyhow, we decided to cancel this year because of, me being sick and whatnot. And we've got some older members in the family. And so it just wouldn't have been super good for us to, get other people sick. And I'm still dealing with the after effects of what I have. And it turns out Rebecca just advised me this afternoon that, oh, hey, by the way, I'm getting sick too. So
it's coming on.
Yeah. I don't know what we got. Who knows? Whatever. I mean, it's one of those things. You get sick in the winter months and things go around. So we're going through our a little issue with that right now. But around here on the homestead, as we said earlier, there's been some colder temperatures. And of course, when that happens, there's things that are going to be dying. And we're dealing with some things that need to come out right now. I'm pulling a lot of peppers and I'm pulling a lot of tomatoes. They're obviously on their way out. And I'm taking that, and some of it I'm feeding it directly to my sheep. And the other parts of it are going directly into the chicken yard. And I know that there's a a lot of people that say, hey, don't feed your chickens nightshades, don't feed them this, don't feed them that. And again, I anybody that's listened to this for any amount of time or watched any of my videos, that we feed the chickens everything. We feed the animals pretty much everything and let them kind of determine what it is they want and what's going to agree with them and what's not going to agree with them. But none of that stuff goes to waste around here, and it's being currently eaten either by our sheep and the sheep tractor, who just love it. And my take on that and the way that I approach it is I don't feed them that exclusively. So that's not the only thing that they're eating. And I don't feed them so much in an abundance where it's going to become something toxic for them. So I feed them, a little bit of it. I don't feed them a tremendous amount. And then I rotate the different things that I'm actually feeding them. I'll also feed them acorns, right? People are like, oh, don't feed your animals acorns. Well, guess what? I've been feeding animals acorns for a long time, and they fucking do just fine on it. So that's just my take. You can do whatever you want with your animals. But I know that there's a lot of things out there that people write about, don't feed them this, don't feed them that. And then unfortunately, what happens is people read that and then they take it as gospel. They'll read some blog about, oh, this is what you shouldn't feed a chicken, or you shouldn't feed this to a cow, or you shouldn't feed this to them, because it becomes problematic. And in any amount over and above what's considered too much, yes, it can become a problem. But I've been pulling all those things out of the garden currently, and I've been doing a lot of burning around here. Right now is a time where I'm starting to do some pruning, not only on my fruit trees that have lost all of their leaves. I'm starting to get into doing my winter pruning on some of those. However, some of those trees have not yet dropped all their leaves, and I'm going to wait until they signal that they're ready to be pruned. But just a tremendous amount of biomass that's accumulated here on the property. And so I'd like to try to turn as much of that as I can into biochar where it makes sense. And then some of the other stuff I just wind up burning. So I've been doing a little bit of burning currently this week. And I've been a lot more active around here as far as getting some of the things done that I need to get done, because weather has permitted. And, we're not dealing with a bunch of rain and shitty weather out there. So it's been pretty nice where I can get out and get some things taken care of.
So as the leaves are falling off our trees, our sweet grandson says, they're dead.
Yeah. Good evening, London and Bill Warner. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys had a great holiday. Thanksgiving is fantastic time of the year. And I hope everybody tuning in has had a great Thanksgiving as well. We had a great Thanksgiving. We spent it not only, we didn't do it here as I mentioned earlier, but we wound up seeing all of our family that entire day, and portions of our family were having Thanksgiving in different places, but we made a lot of rounds on Thanksgiving. We were all the way up in north, up in Reading, north of here. And then we wound up going south of here to see family. And it was nice. We either heard from folks that are important to us and spoke to them on that day, or we actually spent physical time with them. So we hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving as well.
So we usually do Thanksgiving a day early to accommodate different schedules, because we do have other family members who do have Thanksgiving dinners. And so our kids are able to go to their in-laws, and the grandkids don't get overly tired trying to make all of the places. So they can be at one place one day and the next place.
Yeah, that's a difficulty, that people have to deal with when they get married, right? They have to please the in-laws. Oh, we're going to go spend this amount of time with this in-law and that in-law. And, and it becomes kind of a real, I don't know if it's a burden, so to speak, but it just seems like everything's jammed in together during that time. And so what we actually decided to do this year is we're going to have our family get together on December 12th. And we're going to go ahead and have our Thanksgiving dinner, if you will, then. And so that will be kind of nice, where we'll be able to get everybody together and we'll be able to break bread with those that are the most important to us at that time, rather than trying to have everybody run around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to please everybody on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes. It'll be our...
That was a hell of a catch.
Yeah.
Look at that. Snagged it out of thin air. Boy, that was close. Yeah, Bill Warner says that he finally lost his tomato plants to frost the last 3 days. Yeah, mine are looking pretty sick, and
They get so sad looking.
yeah, my potatoes took a little bit of a hit, but they're going to be just fine. If we get some more extended temperatures, it will be imperative that I try to do something to provide them that insulation and get them covered, because they're pretty tender, man. You get them down to frost temperature, and potatoes just do not do well. And I usually expect to see that later in the year. I expect to see that sometime after January, but we've had kind of a cold December or cold November leading into December. So we took a little bit of a hit here this last week, but
That's awesome, London. Wait till she is next year and can pull everything out of the cabinets.
first Thanksgiving with our first granddaughter. Yeah, congratulations. It's awesome. Imagy Speaks says nobody or no one is above the law unless it's a Democrat. I actually think that goes on both sides. I don't think it's a partisan thing. I think it's an establishment thing. And, there's people who are on both sides of the aisle that are benefiting more so than the average American. You or I would go to fucking jail, but they're going to be, given some kind of a blanket immunity. And that's really just a slap in the face of all Americans when we see those kinds of things happening right underneath our eyes. And I don't think anybody's surprised what happened here with Joe Biden. I really don't. I will speak more on that later here, but I agree with you that nobody should be above the law. We just actually switched gyms today. I've been a member of Planet Fitness for, I don't know, about a year maybe. I joined a gym again, and we just decided today to go back to the gym that I used to be a member at for many, many years. And during COVID, we just gave it up, man. We're like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not going there and wearing a mask and doing a bunch of bullshit for, to play your game. So I just started working out at home, and I canceled our gym membership. And we had that membership for 10 years or more. And it's a local gym here. I like the people. I like to support local business. And
family owned.
Yeah,
so
family
really
owned.
nice.
And we just made the decision today, more or less for a couple of reasons. One, because we like to support local business rather than supporting corporate interests like Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness has had their issues with regard to some of their policies. They've got into this kerfuffle with the transgender in the bathroom issue not too long ago. And policies like that, to me, being pushed from the standpoint of corporatism, it just doesn't sit well. And so I like to try to put the money where it needs to be. And I think the more local we can have it, the better off we're going to be. Plus, the gym that we're going back to has a couple of things that I really like and a couple of things that she likes. She's a natural swimmer. That's her thing. And so she's going to be cross training, in the pool on days where she's not running. And so it's really important to, kind of spread your effort there as far as your fitness. I really think cross training is important. And
It's actually, it's a therapeutic pool, but the folks that are there to do therapy have gotten so used to seeing me that they kind of allowed me to swim, even though class was going on. They kind of allowed me to swim when technically I should have gotten out of the water because their class was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can get them back in the routine. I was kind of surprised when they said, "Wow, we haven't seen you in a long time." So hopefully that.
Right.
Otherwise, I kind of have to stick with fitting in between their classes.
Right. Yeah. I'm also interested in their dry sauna. They have a dry sauna there that is something I like to do. And so there's going to be some things that are going to benefit us, even though it's more expensive. I would rather spend that money locally again and take it out of the hands of Planet Fitness, who I don't really, I've already spoken on that, I guess, from the standpoint of.
Well, I don't know if it's technically, if you take into account all of what they have to offer compared to Planet Fitness.
It's not as good, in my opinion. Planet Fitness fucking sucks.
So
it's lame. The people that are there are generally pretty fucking lame, and I just would rather not be there. I'd spend my money locally. So
right. So what I'm saying is that it really was only a $5 increase, but a lot more. It offers a lot more. So it really wasn't.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's going to be a better choice for us. So that's what we decided to do. Also, one other thing with regard to homesteading is we've got about 9 days left in our incubator until we should start seeing some things hatch. And so I'm putting together a video, kind of an unboxing thing, type of a video. So if you have an interest in this particular brand, and then I want to show the results, hey, do we actually get any chickens out of this thing? So yeah, we'll see what we get here in about 12 days, and I'll be putting a video out on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. I have to go in and peek in and try not to disturb the eggs and
right. And I've been moving a lot of leaves, man. A lot of leaves off the lawn, going into the yard for compost making efforts. A lot of wood chips. I think I probably put in 2 yards of wood chips yesterday into the chicken yard, and yeah, just starting to move some compost and things around, trying to get things top dressed and amended around here. But this is the time to do it. It's always the time to build your soil, but it's a really good time right now in the fall. Get that compost out there, and then allow the rain to kind of water things in, and just start building your soil in preparation for next year. But I thought, since we're in the holiday mode, hold on a second. I'm changing gears, but let me see here. Hey, what's up, Skanes girl? How are you doing?
hello to everyone in there.
Right.
Eric's got the opportunity to say hi to folks, and I think I was kind of quiet.
Right.
But I'm saying hello to y'all.
Yeah. Bill says the only people that are above the law are the ones who have more money than brains. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that it's just, I don't know. I just really have a problem with that when people are not being treated equally, and we're all supposedly Americans under the same rule of law. That's got to be very frustrating for the average American. I know that it is for me, but it is kind of still interesting to see the people that are willing to make excuses for this sort of behavior. And that just goes to show you that these people are completely partisan. Their brains are just completely rotten to the point where they can't even recognize, hey, that's actually fucking wrong. That's not the way things are supposed to be. But and we're watching that play out, in different areas where people are getting on and actually trying to defend the undefensible. This is undefensible behavior, but yet we're forced to watch it out in the open. And that's very frustrating. I can only imagine it's very frustrating for people who were believers in all the lies that had been told to them. But yeah, I don't know, man.
That's what's amazing, is how they believe the lies. I mean, you can see it. It just...
I get how it's the lesser of two evils, right? You're going to pick the lesser of two evils. And that's the whole idea of this binary choice of providing the boogeyman on the other side. I get that. Your side sucks ass too. Everybody's going to acknowledge that. But the issue is that it's less than the other side. And so I can see that. But on something like this, you're clearly not in the club, man. Why are you advocating for something that you're not in the club on at all? If this happened to you, you're going to jail. Hillary's server, all that kind of stuff. If that was you, your ass would still be in federal prison over it.
Absolutely.
And so it's just amazing to me to see the level of people who are actually willing to defend that. And it just shows you that they've got really something going on upstairs that's like, you don't even know, man. I can't explain it.
Air.
Yeah.
That's what they have going on upstairs.
Yeah. Air. Yeah. Brave Sigs in the house says, good call. I'm usually against anything with planet in the name. Yeah. Yeah. What's up? HMM. I guess that's like how you pronounce that, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you? Welcome this evening. Good to see you. Yeah. So we are in that Thanksgiving season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And along those lines, why don't you, Rebecca, say something that you're thankful for outside of what everybody is thankful for, which is your loved ones and your health. Those would be two things that most anybody would say what they're thankful for is being healthy, and then their loved ones, being around the people that matter the most to them. So aside from those two things, what's one thing that you're one thing that you're thankful for this year?
You know, I don't think that Thanksgiving should be just on one day. I'm thankful for every day. I'm thankful for people who I interact with and interact back. There's a lot of things that I'm thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that
you're thankful for other human beings that interact with you, is what you're saying.
Yes, because right now we're bringing up a group of folks that just kind of snub you off, the younger kids, but and I think that that's kind of a dying breed as far as the whole social interaction.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really thankful when I come across a young kid who actually has that quality.
Yeah.
I think that is just awesome.
You know where that comes from? That comes from good parenting, in large part, by allowing kids to understand that you have respect, and that you get out there and you put your hand out and you shake somebody's hand and you look them in the eye. I mean, that's like, you're right. It is kind of a dying thing, but when you see that, you have to know that that's reflection of how those kids were raised and what the expectation for them is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from. I would say for myself, one thing that I'm very happy for, and I'm actually going to give you two things that I'm happy for, but the first thing is Trump's back in the White House, man. I mean, if just imagine where we would be if, in fact, Kamala had got in there. I think there would be just a much different mood in the country. There would be a much different mood around the world if we had another 4 years or more of what we've already just experienced this past 4 years. And so I'm very fortunate that Donald Trump actually was reelected. He's not quite in the White House yet, but I think, my hope is that everything goes smoothly so that he can transition in there and start to enact some of the things that he was elected to do. And I think that's one of the things that I'm actually most happy about this year. I was not optimistic thinking that was going to happen just because I've been so disillusioned, but people are waking up, and that's one of the things that I'm very grateful for. And just imagine if this were to be your future.
We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right? Just, there's something about and most of us, many of us went to school on the yellow school bus. On the bus, go round and round. Imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Tell me, what does that mean?
I have no idea, but I can't even imagine what George Washington would think of that as a candidate for president of the United States. Some of the brilliant minds that we had in our past that laid the foundation for where we sit today. I can't even imagine what they would think. That's who the fuck you're running for president. That almost became your commander in chief, with no qualifications and really not much to offer, other than maybe she can remember some lines to get up in a debate and kind of hold it together better than Joe Biden, but really there's just not a lot there. And so again, it goes back to the question, who's really running the country? This is the number 2 person behind Joe Biden, who's, again, he's absent today. He's over in Angola.
He's not just absent today.
No, I understand. I'm saying he's absent yet again, but that's been a very a solid trend with him in his presidency. So it would make most people ask the question, who's actually running things? And I've got some ideas on that. Rebecca's got a few ideas, and I don't think we have an answer to that. But most people should be asking the question, like, what's really going on here?
I think we could definitely say that Joe Biden's not running the country.
Yeah. Skane says that for decades they've been desensitizing people to evil. Yeah, I tend to agree that there's a lot of things out there in the world that are evil, and a lot of it's being promoted by the propagandists. You know, it's a way for them to get people stirred up, and a way to drive forth an agenda that they want to put forth as being somehow normal. Harry and Kent says, Eric and Rebecca, great lead in. The headline shows the president, POTUS, has a credibility problem. I agree. And Braid says, imagine where we would be if we lost him back in July. Yeah, I thought about that, man. I've definitely thought about that. And I've also further thought about, imagine what's going to happen if in fact they succeed. You know, Donald Trump is the reason, or actually I should say, like Obama, that lame ass, he's the reason Donald Trump exists. Obama's the reason the Tea Party exists, is because people wanted to come out and say, you know what, enough is enough, man. You've rammed forth this healthcare thing down people's throats. And that's why Donald Trump came to power. He came to feel the need to run. So yeah, I think about that often, man. What would happen if we lost him then, but what would happen if we lose him in the future? I don't even really like thinking about that, but it is something that's worth thinking about because we know who we're dealing with. I think we can feel thankful that we have been unburdened by what might have been, right?
Yes.
So the fact that she's Shalom, the Jewish redneck prepper, is in the house. Yeah. And yeah, the lady is a complete mess. Yeah, she is, man. I don't know. It's something that I think is going to be possible for us here in California. I know that there's some talk about her running in the future. I think she'd have a pretty good shot, quite honestly, because there's a lot of dumbasses here in this state. And not only that, I would say that along with the dumbasses, there's also a lot of insulation for manipulation, if you can understand what I'm saying. Like, they have drop boxes and they have early voting and they send everybody a ballot and all this sort of shit. And so it's easy to, in the districts where they know that they're heavy, to just manipulate, because they're good at manipulation, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marxism. Powerful corporations run the country. Yes, I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, money drives everything, man.
Big money.
Money drives everything. None of these people are making any decisions in anything because it's what is good for the climate or it's good for the people. No, it's good for their pockets and their power. And that's their sole purpose, is to enrich themselves. And they do that through government, through growing government. So, yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, I think. The other thing that I'm really thankful for, I would say, is that the mask is come off. And it's thanks in large part to people who have been really aggressive at fighting the establishment, not just rolling over and becoming irrelevant. People that have been fired from their jobs, their corporate propaganda jobs that they once held. People like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and Glenn Beck and Bill O'Reilly and Candace Owens and even Bongino. You know, he was a part of being on those shows. And the things that those people are doing now, you take your pick of any one of those people, independent media, Patrick Bet-David, Charlie Kirk. I mean, there's a ton of people out there, Candace Owens. They're all independent journalists, and they are giving us an opportunity to become a more educated and informed public by providing us alternative viewpoints. And I think that right there has been one of the things that has allowed people to make a more informed decision. And it's also one of the reasons why the Democrats didn't move the needle at all in this last election. It swung decidedly red in every state, in every 50 states. And that doesn't happen by accident when you're going up against a corporate media propaganda machine. But see, the American people are waking up and they're realizing, you know what, these fucking people have been lying to us. But again, there's still going to be a certain percentage of people that, they're just going to believe anything. But one of the people that actually kind of changed his tune recently, and I think it was a big help to the Donald Trump campaign and the Republicans in general, because a lot of people listen to this guy. But he was actually a believer at one point. And now he's been a little bit more disillusioned and educated.
Straight up lie about Trump, which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore. Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, a statesman. I felt like he's probably like caught up in the system. It's very difficult to make real meaningful change. You think you're going to do something and then you get into office and you're like, oh God, what a quagmire this place is. But
yeah, so, there's a lot of people, you have to understand, there's a lot of people that feel in many ways like Joe Rogan, and they still do. They still look at Obama with esteem. They still look at him like he's the guy or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But those are the people that, are unwilling to take the blinders off and see that, this fucking guy's been lying to us. He comes out and he berates black people and chastises them and tries to play the race card. Well, that's his jam. And I've said it for years that if that dude ever got challenged by the media like Trump did, he'd have fucking folded like a house of cards week one, because he can't withstand it. He's got a really shady history of how he was brought into politics. And, people tried to expose it, but the media wasn't having any of it because he was going to be Black Jesus. And they were going to roll him out and they were going to ram him down people's throats and they were going to paint him however they wanted him to be. And some people believe that, like Joe Rogan. I never did. I saw him for what he was. He's a race baiter. And so, I'm glad people are waking up. That's the other thing that I'm thankful for this year. Dean Mullis says, speaking of dumbasses, my hands are on fire from making hot sauce with no protective gloves, man. Yeah, that just don't touch your junk later, bro. I mean, you know better.
Or your eyes. Don't rub your eyes.
Yeah. I got into making habanero salsa years ago, and I thought I had it all figured out until I touched my junk, and that'll brighten your day. Bill Zegley in the house. How are you, man? Good to see you. That is awesome. Okay. So that's what I'm thankful for. Let's jump into the weekly poll. This one actually kind of surprised me, man. I put out a poll this a couple days ago, and kind of in the spirit of the Thanksgiving season, man. I know a lot of people are eating pies, right? And I didn't eat any pie this year just because I'm on kind of more of a strict diet, I guess. And do I love pie? Of course, right?
I like the crust.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any.
Do I love a lot of things? Yes, I do. But, it all kind of comes down to discipline, I guess. But there were 241 people who voted in this poll. And the question was, which one of these four pies would be your favorite? And it was surprising to me how evenly divided it was. I thought it would be a little bit more or less kind of skewed toward one, but it was almost kind of evenly broken down. And it goes as such. Top of the list, the winner was apple pie with 36%, followed by pecan, 28%. Coming in third is pumpkin pie at 19%. And bringing up the rear is cherry, 17%. All very evenly split for the most part, with the exception of apple pie kind of running away with it. But if you had to choose, I know what hers is, but if you had to choose, Rebecca, what is your favorite pie?
Well, you know it's cherry.
I know it's cherry.
But cherry and apple mixed together is really good. And
Yeah.
cherry and peach mixed together is really good too.
Yeah. I would say for me, if I had to choose between any of these, I would probably pick pecan. However,
really?
Oh yeah, it depends on who's making the pie. That's the real crux of the thing. Because if you're making apple pie out of a fucking can or cherry pie out of a can, you can save that. That's not my jam. But if it's like real cherry pie or it's real apple pie with real like dough that people make from scratch, it's
Pitted
flaky.
or unpitted? Pitted.
I don't want
cherries.
I don't want pitted cherries in my thing, man.
I've had that before.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's better if you have a heads up that it's pitted cherries.
Right. Skane says pumpkin pie is my favorite. You know, the interesting thing about all this is that each region kind of has, what's specific to them. Certain states or it's a thing, and actually the fifth pie, these are the four that are like the most like popular or whatever. And then after that, it was blueberry in there, but I didn't have space to put a fifth one in. So I just put the top four. But Skane says pumpkin is her favorite.
Well, would want a sweet potato pie.
Yeah, sweet potatoes. Yeah, it's good, man. My mom used to make sweet potato pie, and I like that quite a bit. Talking about pie or brandy. Yeah, if I had to pick off of this list, because none of these are actually my favorite pie is a peach pie. And you put peach pie with a little bit of vanilla ice cream, a la mode. Man, I can go off on that. That's my thing.
Are you telling me you're going off your diet?
No, well, depends on who's making the pie. Yeah. Let's see. London says blueberry or cherry. Yeah. Yeah, man. Everybody's got their choice. There's so many different pies out there. Key lime and, all these different types of pies that are awesome, but these are like kind of the more popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
Skane says, I splurged on a mini single serve pumpkin, apple, blueberry, and sweet potato.
Wait, a piece of each or all mixed together?
I think it's probably a piece of each, man. I don't know. I like my American pie. Yeah. Yeah, man. Pie's good. You can't go wrong with pie. It makes everybody happy. I was going to bring up some harsh realities of growing up because as we all grow up, right? And we look up at our parents and we look at them like they know everything because in a sense they do because we don't know that much. And so we really look up to them and we really, aspire to want to maybe be like them and grow up that way. And so there's a lot of things when you grow up, you don't really know to start with. And you have to learn them along the way. And some of them are harsh realities. And there's 7 of them here that I'll list. I don't think any of them are wrong. I think they're all quite right. But what I'm going to ask you, Rebecca, is which one of these 7 would be the one thing that you would tell your younger self if you could pull from this list of realities? You would be able to pull this and say, I want to tell my younger self this now so that I will learn, moving forward that this is probably the most important thing out of here. So I will go down the 7 of these harsh realities. And this is the first one. Number 1, your parents were figuring it out just like you are. 2, life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. 3, friends can turn into strangers faster than you expect. 4, success often means sacrificing comfort. 5, people you love will hurt you intentionally or not. 6, you're not entitled to anything. You have to earn it. 7, no one cares about your excuses, only your results.
So my answer to that would be 6. You're not entitled to anything. You have to earn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that pretty much says it all. I tend to agree with that. Everything that you have in life is going to be a result of something you either did or didn't do. You're responsible for your actions, right? And so, yeah, you're not entitled to anything. You have to earn it. Now, that works in a society that doesn't give handouts to people that don't even have the right to be here, like illegals, right? So there's obviously a mixed message being sent by some people in government that, oh, you don't need to do this. We'll just give you some shit for free. And that's not the American way. That's not the way the system was designed. And what that does is it sends a very unfortunate message to everybody else in society who is actually contributing, right? What does that say about the person that's busting their ass with 2 and 3 jobs trying to make ends meet, right? And they're trying to do it the right way, but yet they see the government just allowing people to flood in by the millions and that they're getting these entitlements. So, I totally agree. Yeah, we got some folks chiming in. London says that number 6, he agrees with you. And Bill Warner agrees. And says 1 and 6. Your parents were figuring it out just like you. Yeah, there's no real manual to that sort of thing. You can look stuff up on the internet, right? You can Google it. You can look at blogs on how to raise children. But here's the thing that nobody's going to tell you. They're not going to tell you how to interpret the different personalities and behavior of your children and how to navigate that thing, right? They can kind of tell you, but that's something you have to figure out along the way. How do you maximize this person's potential based on the type of individual that they are? Every one of them is different, right? Even though they're raised under the same roof, they all have different minds of their own and different set of problems or talents that you need to be able to, as a parent, figure out how to best utilize or best encourage, I suppose. Absolutely.
I would say all of my siblings, we are all different, have different.
Every family. There's not a family that's listening to what I'm saying right now that we're talking about that's going to disagree and say, oh no, everybody was the same. Everybody we're all in lockstep. We all believe the same things and we all ended up in the same place. We all, it's always different. And so that's the challenge that the parent has is trying to figure out those little pieces of the puzzle.
So there was a whole, and I think it still probably holds true today, is the whole, when you go to a birthday party, me growing up, you went to a birthday party, you took a present to the birthday person. But when our kids were young, not only did you take a present to the birthday person, but you got a party favor. So you got a present too when you left. And that just makes absolutely no sense to me. You're going to a birthday party. That's the person you're going to celebrate. You shouldn't expect to leave with a gift.
Right. I suppose that's true.
It's just, and the same with.
That falls back to you're not entitled to anything. You have to earn it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And it's the same with sports, everybody's a winner. Everybody gets a medal.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's not the way it should be. But again, there's mixed message being sent in our country by our so-called leaders. And that's kind of unfortunate. But it's up to us, the adults, to set the record straight and to speak to truth and to raise the next generation, letting them know, hey, you know what? That ain't the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way of success. You don't sit around and wait for something to happen or come to you that you didn't earn. So I agree. Number 6 is probably my most important thing that I would tell my young self. But I actually learned that at a young age, having the dad I did. So this week's installment of Liberal or Conservative, where I am going to read a quote, and it will be up to you to determine whether or not this is a liberal or conservative who actually said this quote. And it's kind of a 2-part thing because it's asking a question and then it's giving you the answer in the quote. And here's that quote. It says, "What's the difference between a liberal and a conservative? A liberal will interpret the Constitution, and a conservative will quote it." Liberal or conservative, Rebecca?
I would say conservative.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because that came from one Rush Limbaugh. And yeah, that dude, man, he went out quick. You know, he got the cancer, and he went out quick, man. But he was quite the force in conservative politics. And it's unfortunate, you know. It's unfortunate. I think he would really like to see how things are shaping up right now with Trump's cabinet picks and the results of this past election. But yeah, he went out quick, man. He's been gone for a minute too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe I bought you the magazine with him on the cover.
Yeah. Yeah. London says, "My sister and I are night and day. Same with my children." Yeah, it's just the commonality of families, man. You know, and here's the other thing too, is every family's got their problems. You know, so the problems that you have in your family are not unique to you. Every family has some problems. They just don't talk about them, generally speaking, openly, because it's a family matter. But there's no perfect family out there, even though outwardly it may look like, oh, they've got their shit together, or there's this or there's that. Everybody has something going on. And that's okay that, you know, just to recognize that. You know, it's not like some anomaly that, you know, is going on in your family. Every family's got their issues, right?
That's where I think younger people get caught up in looking at wealthier folks as, oh, they've got it all. Look at that. They're so rich. But they're not realizing that what they're spending is equal to what they're making, and they still have the same problems. So it doesn't really make them any better.
No.
They might have better toys, but that's...
Bill Zegley says, "Leaving with an extra piece of cake is your return gift if there was a big enough cake." Yeah. Let's see. Dean says, "Unfortunately, a lot of young folks, both male and female, are looking at earning a combat participation award since the current administration is hell-bent on mushroom clouds." Yeah. Yeah, that's such a bad message for people. And you know, and I hope we can kind of get back to maybe more sanity in society, where people aren't just being given everything for nothing. But that's clearly not the direction that certain people in politics want to push, you know, the country. And obviously it's for voting, right? There's something in it for them. They could give two shits about people coming from other countries. They're going to shit on them just like they're going to shit on us right now, right? Just like Americans are getting forgotten because Americans that don't support them aren't the ones that they're targeting. They're targeting people who are vulnerable because they're trying to bring them in and say, look what we're going to give you for nothing. And they're essentially doing that right in front of everybody's face. So it's pretty sad. But yeah, I think brings us to the main topic. And I guess it's, you know, who's really running the country. I think that's something that everybody wonders from time to time, because, you know, Biden obviously has some mental challenges, and he's been pretty absent. You know, he hasn't really been there that much. And so you have to ask the question, you know, who is running the country? And I've given that some thought. I think most people have. And what I've come up with is that I don't think it's any one singular entity. In fact, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be the three co-equal branches of government that has been put there by the will of the people, us. So they're supposed to be working for us on our behalf. And clearly that's been perverted, and that's not how it generally goes down. It's more or less these people that we've elected are now beholden to the money that is getting them reelected and stuffing their pockets. And so there's a lot of corporate interests. There's a lot of money being thrown at these campaigns, a lot of money being thrown at these candidates. And so it's a very much perverted system at this point. But I don't think it's any one person. It's not Joe Biden. You know, obviously, you know, no president is running everything, but at least with a person like Trump, he's got his own vision, and he's implementing that vision with the people that he surrounded himself with. That's what we elected. That's what we expect. And that's clearly not what's happening with Joe Biden. Joe Biden's fucking, he's being told what to say and everything. They tried to push him out. And, he's still a little pissed off about that. But, there's a headline that I read from the New York Post, and it says that President Biden spends almost as much time on R&R as he does running the country. The 81-year-old commander-in-chief has racked up 532 days in less than 4 years. That's about 40% of the 1,326 days he's been in office.
Those are vacation days.
Those are vacation days, yes. And it would take the average American who gets 11 days a year of vacation approximately 48 years to accumulate that number of days off. So just think about that. Our president, Joe Biden, who's been absent or on the beach, passed out for 40% of the time. He's been hanging out in Delaware and wherever the hell else, right? Doing what he does. He's not been in the White House. And so he has taken 48 years worth of vacation in 4 years. And so again, who's running the country?
So it's safe to say he's not running the country.
Well, yeah, I think most people think that he hasn't been for a long time because of his mental issues. But who is running the country? And again, I think it's the money and the special interests that.
I agree with you. I think it is the elite who are pulling strings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the mega donors. I kind of went down a rabbit hole here not too long ago, and I'm looking at who are these mega donors, and there's mega donors on both sides. And so I looked to see who are the top 10 for the Democrats, top 10 for the Republicans. And this might have been a waste of time, but in a sense, it's kind of not, because every bit of information you can get about the world around you and how it works is of value, right? And so by me understanding who these people are and what their influence is and who they are aligned with, it kind of helps to put the pieces of the puzzle that, these mega donors are tied to this entity and that entity. And it really makes you realize that, the corporatism and everything that's running our system is very, very corrupt, from big pharma to, big food, big ag, big everything, and it all kind of goes back to the BlackRock, the State Street and Vanguard, and not only do they own the institutional share, the majority of those institutional shares, they all own each other. And so it doesn't matter if that one goes down, because they're in essence going to benefit because the other one's going to go up. And so it's all tied to money. And I don't think there's any singular person who's running the country, but it's probably people who have been invited to that Bilderberg meeting that gets held every year, right? That we don't get invited to.
I would so love to be a fly on the wall.
That's what interests me. I don't know why there hasn't been somebody with the technology that exists that smuggles some stuff in there and gets the real gist, man,
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting.
Maybe they have to scope you and everything.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Potato Salad Joe hasn't heard from his head in years. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. I feel somewhat bad in the sense that, he's an aging old man. But I don't feel bad because I think that he's pretty corrupt. He's pretty corrupt, so corrupt. And in fact, probably like evil, because of the things that he's doing, that he knows how damaging they're going to be to average Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Says people used to talk about private matters, but now people film everything but private information out for the world to see. Half the time, it's a fake life. Yeah, that's pretty prevalent on social media. People are going to put forth their best image and everything. And I don't know, like I say, I guess that's why I like doing these live streams, is because it's a little bit less edited. In fact, it's not edited at all. And what you get is kind of what you see. Whereas, you put out content and that shit's going to be somewhat edited. And cut and made to look a certain way for a certain presentation. And yes, you're going to see that all the time on social media. And right, this is social media.
That'd be pretty sweet if you could, like, take out my gray hair and smooth out my skin.
Well, you can do all that. Well, what's the point?
I know.
Weekend at Bernie's, London says. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. There's a dude who, his name's Cancel This Clothing Company. If you haven't heard or seen this guy, go look at his shit, man. He gets really down into the rabbit hole, but he does a lot of really intense research. And so he kind of all ties a lot of these things together. But it's called, again, Cancel This Clothing Company. But he's on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. I think YouTube probably took him down because, they're censoring people that say a little too much. But he goes down the rabbit hole on some stuff. And it's like, wow, man, that's some intense research, man.
Yeah, he's pretty fascinating to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, down to cold cereal and everything.
Yeah. He talks a lot about, keeping things local. And I fully agree with that. I think that the more that we can keep dollars in your own community and don't send it out. I mean, we spend enough money in places where we don't really want to, but we do so out of convenience or cost. And so it is somewhat important to consider that when you're buying things and maybe spend a little bit extra if you can keep some bucks in, a local pocket. It just feels good. And it is the right thing to do, in my opinion, but people can spend their money however they want. Yeah, unfortunately, man, Biden's not real good at running the country, and he's definitely not good at keeping his word. And for me, that's how I judge a person. I was always brought up to believe, or to, my dad told me, hey, you're judged by what you do rather than what you say. And so if you say you're going to do something, live up to that and be a man of your word. And, they've said a lot of things, man. They've made a lot of promises, politicians, and we expect them to make promises. And we expect them to say certain things. But I think the amount of lying that's occurred, that isn't something that we expect out of people that supposedly should have character. I look at that as a person without character. If you're going to change your positions just based on trying to get reelected, what the fuck are you? Who are you? And so whether it's lies that the media and the establishment and this president have told regarding things like January 6th being an insurrection, or maybe the cover up of Hunter Biden's laptop that everybody was, told not to look at, or, if it's Hillary Clinton's server, right? That was swept under the rug. Or Russiagate, that was a fabricated fucking lie against Donald Trump. And it was proven that it was a lie. Or lies surrounding the validity of the last election in 2020. There's a lot of improprieties there that were never looked at, and we were told not to look at them, not to talk about them. Those are all lies. Those are all things that they're either not telling, or they're saying, don't look over here. Or whether it's, hey, we're winning the Ukraine war. We're just on the precipice of this victory. We just need more congressional money to authorize more funding.
We just need more money.
So that's what the American people have been seeing for years now. And so it should be really no surprise that Joe Biden went back on his word yet again, right? I would say that the people who are in the Democrat strategy, or excuse me, in the establishment that are trying to put forth a strategy, a winning strategy for the next election, are none too happy with this dude, old Joe Biden, for pulling this move. Do you think, Rebecca, that when Obama heard this news, he looked across the table while he's drinking his coffee, looking at Michelle and said, oh yeah, that was a good move. I'm really stoked about that. How about Pelosi or Schumer or the Clintons or the strategists at the DNC? Do you think they're embracing the fact that Joe Biden has done this right in front of everybody as he's leaving the office?
No, because I think it just makes the struggle even more for them to try to make themselves look good.
Well, they realize they got their ass handed to them in this last election, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to turn the page on Joe Biden's presidency, and yet he exposes yet again the two-tier justice system right before everybody's eyes. So there's people that are disillusioned on both sides of the aisle at this point. Do you think the mega donors that donated, some of them hundreds of millions of dollars to the re-election campaign of the Biden-Harris ticket, do you think that they're super stoked about the fact that he's doing this on the way out?
I would guess that they're fuming.
That would be my guess as well, right?
Uh-huh.
I can't speak for him, but I mean, just think about it, right?
Biden has made a decision to pardon his son Hunter ahead of the transfer of power to President-elect Donald Trump, according to a senior White House official with direct knowledge of the decision. He's expected to announce it later on tonight. And this comes months after Hunter Biden was convicted on gun charges back in June. That marked the first time a sitting president's child was convicted of a crime. Hunter Biden also pleaded guilty to federal tax charges in September. White House officials and President Biden himself have said repeatedly that he would not, in fact, pardon Hunter before leaving office. But tonight we learned of the president's decision. Again, a reversal for him and what the White House has said President Biden would do.
You damn well bet none of them are pretty stoked about this. I mean, the retards that are going to say anything about, oh, well, look, he's doing this because, this is to get back at this, or that, they're making excuses. There's no excuse for this. There's absolutely no excuse for it. And so I don't think it's really that surprising, to be quite honest. And here's what I'll say. There's probably two reasons that this took place, two main reasons. The first is an allegiance to his son.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's surprising at all. I think there's a lot of people that probably would do the same thing. I'm not saying that I'm above that if I was in that position. What, am I going to roll out and not fucking do that for my kid? That's my kid. Family's pretty thick, right? So I understand why he did that, because he has an allegiance to his son. But the second reason that he's doing this is because he's trying to cover for crimes that he could be implicated in. AKA any of those documents that may resurface from Hunter Biden's laptop, per se. So you remember during that whole time, Joe Biden was referred to as the big guy, where they had to have a carve out for the big guy. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was that whole Burisma thing where the crackhead himself, with no talent and no skill, was over in Ukraine making a bunch of money. How did he get that position? And why was there somehow a need to carve out for the big guy? So my impression is that in that, the rest of the documents in there would be something that would implicate Joe Biden, and he's trying to cover to keep his ass out of jail.
I'm sure that there's a lot.
Yeah,
that's in there about Joe Biden.
Yes, because he came out, and this isn't just a pardon. This is a pardon for the last 10 years. Anything that's taking place in the last 10 years.
Which doesn't make any sense, because he's only been convicted of certain things. So why would you go back?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense unless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're trying to cover up something that you're implicated in. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
So.
But I know that they've got their own rules, but how do you pardon somebody for something they haven't been convicted for yet?
That's a good question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the answer to that. Yeah, London says that he's thankful for Porterhouse and Teal. Find the time to record, edit, and upload learning videos and host live shows. Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you showing up, man. Yeah, it's kind of fun coming here and just sounding off and sharing some thoughts, I guess. And it just seems like there's never a never ending flow of things to talk about because, Yeah, there's always something going on.
Always.
Right?
Always something.
Yeah. Here's another thing that I'm going to ask the question. Do you think that they would hatch a plan to replace Biden with Kamala at the last minute? And let me just say, I don't know if that would happen, but you can only imagine that they are none too happy with this old man, right? Do you think that they would get his ass out?
It's a possibility. But it's almost like they're opening another.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing.
Because then they're going to have Kamala in, and she's going to do something stupid in the last few.
She doesn't have much time to do anything. So my point is that they're going to be able to wipe their hands.
All she's got to do is open her mouth.
My point is they're going to be able to wipe their hands of Biden and distance themselves from him if they were to go after him. Hey, we're going to remove him via the 25th Amendment. This dude's not making clear decisions. This is like he said one thing. And I mean, all they have to do is leak his medical records about him not being cognitively sound, right? They've been holding and protecting that.
Mm-hmm.
They came out and said some things, but they've been withholding that. So they've got information on him and they could easily get his ass out if they wanted to. So that's all I'm asking is, do you think that they would have to plan at the last minute to get him out and replace him with, so we could have the first woman president, right? And
not only the first woman president, the first Black woman president.
First person of color. I mean, we don't know what she is.
And we don't know what she is.
So that's, I mean, it's that's just a thought, but I can only say that because I don't think that they're very happy with Mr. Biden.
It's a possibility,
right?
It's a possibility. If they could keep him just out of the light for the rest of the time, then I think they'd probably let it ride.
Right. Well, who knows whatever else he's going to do. But yeah, the 11-year span, I thought it was 10 years. It went back 10 years to like 2014, I think. But it's anything that he has is going to be potentially implicated in during that period of time. And he, I mean, I don't, that's not how pardons are supposed to work typically, but, Biden is setting some precedent. And I think that's going to be exploited moving forward by future presidents. So, yeah. Another thing that happened, which was kind of, it's more of a social issue, I think, for me. And it's something to talk about, but let's take a look at this. Now, what has come to light is, this comes from the California Globe, and Caitlyn Jenner teases possible 2026 run for California governor, stating, "If I ran and it was ultimately against Harris, I would destroy her." Former Olympic athlete and 2021 gubernatorial candidate Caitlyn Jenner hinted of a 2026 gubernatorial run for the office late on Monday in a string of messages on X, quickly boosting her to some of the top potential Republican candidates in the race. So most of you probably are aware who Caitlyn Jenner is and what her history is, but if you are not, Caitlyn Jenner was born Bruce Jenner, and he first achieved widespread fame in the mid-1970s as a decathlon athlete, culminating in a gold medal at the 1976 Montreal Olympic Games. So, Rebecca.
Yes.
What do you think? Would that be something that you would support if Caitlyn Jenner was running for California governor and you had to choose between Caitlyn and Kamala? What would be your choice?
I actually would choose Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Based on?
Because I think that one, she'd probably do a better job running the country.
The state.
The state, yes, sorry. And two, she's She says she's a transgender person. So she's not, I don't know how to say it. She's not pushing the fact that it's okay to go out and change the sex of your child because they say, oh, I feel like a girl today. She's not really, it's just as an adult, this is what she did. And I think that she holds by that.
Right.
Or he holds by that. I know him as a swimmer in the Olympics.
Right.
As Bruce. And then, of course, came out as Caitlyn.
Right.
So I think he would be a much better candidate.
Yeah.
Or she.
Look at Dean Mullis, man. He never disappoints. He says that seeing that would be awesome. A fake woman Republican running for California governor against a fake black woman. Yeah, man, that is pretty awesome. I would say for me, I'd have to actually know what the person was that, I'm voting for, what their issues are and what they support. That would be the first place that I would look. And I can tell you probably right up front that I would support Caitlyn Jenner's policies far and away above what Kamala Harris stands for. That's like a given. But I do have a problem voting for somebody into that office because I don't think that as a society we need to promote that imagery toward young people, and I don't support that as a lifestyle choice. Again, if somebody wants to do that, that's fine, but I just don't think I feel good about supporting and elevating that person, saying, oh, hey, look, this is our leader, a person who used to be a dude and now is a woman. So I have, I'm very conflicted there in a sense, but I do think that when push came to shove, I would probably have to vote for Caitlyn Jenner over Kamala, because the damage that the Democrat Party will inflict upon future generations will be far greater than the imagery of a dude in a dress, right? Because it's about policies. They're going to push a bunch of social bullshit policies and policies that are unhelpful and harmful to not only young people that are impressionable, but they're going to make it harder for the average person to live their life. And so I would probably agree with you, giving it some careful consideration, that I'd probably vote for a dude in a dress, Caitlyn Jenner, over Kamala Harris. But I do, like I say, I'm conflicted on that.
Well, I agree. I agree with everything that you just said, that it is difficult, and that's when we listen to him or her, whoever, talk, that's kind of putting it out there with Caitlyn or Kamala, their policies and everything of what they stand for, besides he's a woman in a dress. I think he's got his head on straight more so than she does.
Right. Like I said, I certainly could sit down and have a beer with him, and I'd probably have a very engaging and interesting conversation, and we'd probably agree upon a lot. I can't say the same for a person like Kamala. She wouldn't have the time of day for fucking anybody that's listening to this, except for the feds that are listening right now, because there's probably some feds that are listening, right? Some elites.
Absolutely.
Listening in other words, because this is harmful content. London Pickering says Jennings and Harris are at equal mental illness. Yeah, I think that there's some issues with those people, but there's probably issues with a lot of people, right? Jenner does hang out with the Kardashians. Maybe a Bud Light. Ooh, yeah, maybe a Bud Light. Oh man, yeah, Bud Light. They stepped in it, didn't they? Kind of like Planet Fitness. But the other news that came out this week, which I think is pretty cool, man. And this one has the liberals' heads exploding. That's kind of explains the thumbnail on this week's live stream. where you've got that liberal lady in the background, just like with her screaming her head off, you know. And this is just another, to me, another reason why this person probably should be somebody who's confirmed and somebody who is credible, because he has the people that are the most concerned are the people that have the most to hide. And yeah, let's take a look at this. Yeah, this isn't new news, but it's from Donald J. Trump from a couple of days ago. And it says, I am proud to announce that Kash Patel will serve as the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and American first fighter who has spent his career exposing corruption, defending justice, and protecting the American people. He played a pivotal role in uncovering the Russia hoax, standing as an advocate for truth, accountability, and the Constitution. Kash did an incredible job during my first term, where he served as Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, as Deputy Director of National Intelligence, and Senior Director for Counterterrorism at the National Security Council. Kash has also tried over 60 trials, and this FBI will end the growing crime epidemic in America, dismantle the migrant crime gangs, and stop the evil scourge of human and drug trafficking across the border. Kash will work under our great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to bring back fidelity, bravery, and integrity to the FBI. So, you know, obviously there's a lot of people freaking out on the media, and all of the establishment deep staters, who many of them are, you know, paid propagandists at this point, people like John Bolton and some of the other people who have worked inside of government that are corrupt at the highest level, and essentially turned on Donald Trump even after he worked for Donald Trump. Kind of interesting now that he's been pushed to the outside. And, you know, then he wants to become real mouthy when things don't go his way. But he has a lot to hide, somebody like that. He has a lot of secrets. He has a lot of skeletons that, you know, he could probably bury, working for, you know, not only the Bushes and everybody else, Obama, right? So people like that, when they come out and they say, oh, this guy's unqualified, well, clearly looking at that resume, if that's what Kash Patel's resume consists of, he's clearly somebody who should be looked at as a serious person for the job. Now, the problem that they have with this individual is that he's come out and he's said some things that don't appear to be too partisan. But hey, check this out. We are not confirming a Supreme Court justice. We're not interpreting somebody who is going to be a justice in the Supreme Court. This is a person who's going to fight some crime. And I think that it's important that Trump surround himself with the people that are going to help carry out the mission that he was elected to do. And so it'll be interesting to see how many rhinos decide to get into the way, because there's nothing that, if the Republican Party votes along with the president, every one of these should sail through. But we're going to see how many of these rhinos, people like Susan Collins and what's the other one up there? Murkowski, right? They're reliable Democrat votes, those people. I don't even know why they keep getting voted back in, but nonetheless, they got elected, or they have the majority based on the fact that Donald Trump was running, not because their ass was running. The houses were flipped because of Donald Trump. And so they need to remember that. And if they're not willing to vote to confirm Trump's picks, people need to raise up and get their ass out of there, because they're part of the problem. They are the reason that nothing happened with Obamacare. Remember when they were given the House and the Senate? Oh, vote us in. We're going to fix Obamacare. And then as soon as they got the majority, they didn't do it. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, because it made me very, very nervous.
Yeah, I know. And that's what people need to pay attention to. Don't forget these fucking snakes in the grass, because that's what they are. So anyhow, this is why these liberals and these swamp monsters, both right and left, are concerned.
Go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we'll figure that out. But yeah, we're putting you all on notice. And Steve, this is why they hate us. This is why we're tyrannical. This is why we're dictators, because we're actually going to use the Constitution to prosecute them for crimes they said we have always been guilty of, but never have.
Yeah. So that dude, I've listened to him. I didn't even know anything about him, quite honestly, but I started hearing some rumblings about him for CIA director. And then, Trump picked somebody else, and then his name resurfaced shortly thereafter saying, oh, he's probably going to get the FBI job. And I happened to see a podcast that he was sat down in, and, we both listened to it. And yeah, he's kind of a no joke kind of a dude. And Trump is surrounding himself with loyalists, but that's what every president does. They put people around that are going to be loyal to them, not loyal to the state, not loyal to the establishment. And that's what these people have a problem with, because they don't really care so long as you're loyal to the establishment and you're not going to reveal their secrets and you're not going to upset the apple cart. They want to continue with the lies in the media. They want to continue with saying one thing and doing another. That's what they want to continue with. And Trump's trying to clean that up a little bit and get some accountability back into government and put it back into the hands of the people as it should be. And so that's why these people are very concerned, and actually should be concerned, right?
Yes. I think that he definitely learned some from his first term.
Oh, he learned a ton.
Yes. For people who not to surround himself with.
Right. We have not only a two-tiered system of justice, we've kind of just highlighted that, I guess, but we also have a two-tiered system when it comes to being here legally and if you're here illegally. In many ways, the illegals are receiving greater benefits and preferential treatment over United States citizens. And this really shouldn't make anybody happy. It should actually make you quite angry. But given the fact that we're in this holiday season, this is the gift of giving, is giving you more information if you didn't know this already.
The Biden administration is allowing migrants to skip ID checks at the airport. That's according to a new DHS report. It's obviously raising airport security concerns.
Well, Jonathan, you could imagine how frustrated they are hearing this, especially right now. It's the holiday season. People are just rushing to get to the airport early. They have to show that ID. They have to wait on the security line. Well, illegal migrants do not have to show their IDs. And most of the time, they're able to wait in these special lines to get through security. A recent report from the DHS Inspector General reveals that illegal migrants don't need to show any ID, passport. Instead, they can simply use the CBP One app as their document. They could even choose whether to allow officers to take their picture. The CBP One app report their personal information. The Inspector General report states that, quote, if CBP and ICE continue to allow non-citizens whose identities immigration officers cannot confirm to enter the country, they may inadvertently increase national security risks. Well, a spokesperson for DHS fired back at this report, telling Fox that it contains inaccurate statements and lacks important context. But we spoke to the Air Marshal National Security Director, who tells us this has been a concern for years.
We've been fighting this for over 3.5 years now because unvetted, unidentified people on our aircraft are a threat to our communities, not only in the aircraft, but when they land and take another flight. I don't know if Americans are aware, this isn't just a one-time thing. These illegals can fly on flights over and over and over.
And most of these flights are free flights that you, the taxpayer, are responsible for paying for.
Well, there you go. You're paying for all this. Isn't that fantastic? Let me just remind you, remember during the Bush administration when 9/11 happened and everybody was so incredibly sensitive toward terrorism and these sleeper cells and all this other kind of bullshit that they came up, right? Remember they had the rainbow of doom where it was oh, it's code yellow. We're at a heightened code red, and we're code, all this color coding and shit when they put in the Homeland Security bullshit that we're all under now, where we have to take our shoes off to go through the airport. Remember all that?
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. It's still a thing for you and I. We still have to take our shoes off and stand there and get wanded and belted
Empty out
and
your
everything.
pockets and put it in the...
Yeah, what are these illegals doing? They're just being invited in. So again, it's a two-tiered system of legality. For illegals, we'll just make a pass. We'll just make exceptions for you. We're not going to worry about it. Also, a couple of years ago, remember when we had everybody was so concerned about this COVID-19 fiasco that everybody was forced to endure? Many people lost their jobs and were forced out of their jobs if they didn't get certain things, or they were told that you didn't have your cards, you couldn't come into a restaurant, or you were kicked out if you didn't have your fucking mask on. Remember all that sort of stuff? Well, COVID's still around. Why aren't they concerned about communicable diseases coming across our border? They've had millions of people coming across since 2020. Think about that, guys. No, seriously, think about that. Most of you that listen to this probably have, but many of the people that are sycophants for the Democrat Party that are still walking around with a mask, think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. It's been since 2020 that Biden opened up the border on day fucking one. And people from all over the world have been flooding into this country, and they don't give two shits about masks. Isn't that interesting? So again, it's all about the perception of how to control people. All of it was a lie. And yet there's still people walking around complying with that lie. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing because we have gotten rid of several diseases that came into this country.
Mm-hmm.
And yet now these folks are coming over. They're not being vetted or anything else.
Nope.
And so very easily could bring back the smallpox and...
Yep. By the millions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a very interesting thing. All you really have to do is just kind of think for yourself. Don't look at what they're telling you. Just look at what you see, and try to think for yourself and deduce what's actually going on and why is it going on. It's clear. And I will say that I feel I don't know vindicated, but I definitely called this one, I think, in our last live stream when we were talking about the illegals flooding across. And I said what I would do is I would threaten, if I was Trump, I would threaten these countries with, tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
And like the very next day, boom, 25% tariff to both Canada and Mexico. It's not like I'm a genius. That's a no-brainer if you just understand what Trump is all about.
I think I woke up with you saying, yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like that's an easy one to call. You put pressure on the people that are allowing that to happen, the neighbors, and they're going to respond to that. And of course, Justin Trudeau, he drug his ass down to Mar-a-Lago, and they all want to play nice now. And it's interesting because Daddy's home. And again, it goes back to the question: who is really running the country? Is it Donald Trump at this point? A little bit more so than Joe Biden, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And he's not even in the office yet. And so that's what I'm thankful for this year. To kind of wrap things up, I'm very thankful for that. I feel renewed my enthusiasm for this country and its people. I'm renewed because people are waking up. I've been disillusioned for years, man. Realizing like, how the fuck am I seeing this? And then this is what's the result? How did Obama even get reelected? How did that even happen? When he was, I still think they cheated,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was millions of people that came out and voted, but I mean, people were not happy with that dude, if you don't remember, with that whole
Apologizing for us.
The healthcare thing, man.
Yes, the healthcare thing really, really had me worked up.
Yeah. That clip is maddening if you look at it, to realize that we're paying for something and they're getting hotel rooms and credit cards. And then the people that are dealing with shit down in North Carolina get $750. That's a slap in the face. Just like saying, hey, I'm not going to pardon my son, but yet check this out. I'm going to pardon my son. Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised because that's what Democrats do. That's what the establishment does. They lie to you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, man, I don't know. One more thing. Yeah. No concern for communicable diseases. And Dean says the only reason I'm still alive was because the one-way aisles in the grocery store and the plexiglass shield in front of the cashier at the gas station. Yeah. Just I know, man. It's so stupid. All that stuff they had everybody doing, putting the little footprints on the floor and everything, and I don't know, man. People fell for it, man. I just didn't. Again, initially, I think everybody was kind of like, "Oh, what the hell?" But that lasted like 2.5 weeks, and then it was like, this is not like adding up so much, man. And I don't know. Some people took longer to come around than others, but it's amazing to think that there's still people out there. I saw somebody the other day with a mask on. I mean, I don't know, maybe sensitive to pollen.
I saw a lady today with a mask on.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. We used to poke fun at the people you'd see in Asia, because that was kind of a thing over there. In China, they'd have these masks on and shit, because of you've got 6 billion people in a small area. It's maybe not such a bad idea, quite honestly, but I don't know. It's just weird.
Maybe they just all have bad breath.
They probably do.
Where you see them slurp up their food.
Easy. So I'm going to get out of here, and we're going to leave you with a Did You Know? But I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and allowing us to share some thoughts and ramble on about some things going on around here and politics and just some perspective. And I enjoy doing that. Rebecca enjoys sitting in on this and spending some time with you guys. So I'll hit you with this Did You Know? I think it's kind of a good one. Check it out.
We still use today and where they originated from. Part 8. In the 16th century, the popular nursery rhyme called Hey Diddle Diddle featured a cow jumping over the moon, which was expressed as an achievement in the rhyme. So in times of joy, people would refer back to this rhyme by saying they were over the moon, just like the cow. In the late 19th century, horse racing became an extremely popular sport, and the winner was often decided in the final moments by a wire being stretched across the finish line to see who could cross it first. When this happened, it was quite literally down to the wire. During the 1950s, the United States Weather Bureau gave big, fluffy white clouds the nickname Cloud 9. These clouds are considered the most attractive of all clouds, hence the reason we say on Cloud 9 when talking about heightened happiness. In the 16th century, it was believed that crocodiles' eyes watered whilst they were hunting their prey and eating it. Hence the reason we say someone has crocodile tears when they show signs of untrue sorrow. In the 18th century, before the invention of light bulbs or kerosene lamps, everybody used oil lamps to be able to see at night, so anybody who was working late at night would quite literally be burning the midnight oil.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. London says good night to all, and Bill Warner says blessings from Tennessee. Same with Bill Zegley. Appreciate y'all, and I'm glad that we got a chance to spend a little bit of time this week. Last week was a pre-recorded episode just because I was coming down with that illness, but hopefully my better half over here doesn't wind up getting what I have, because I think it's kind of like a little like a nasal infection type of a thing it's translated into. But I don't know, maybe it's the COVID, but if you keep yourself healthy, you don't have to worry about dying from it. So that's the path we're on. We're going to go eat some good food, and we're going to make sure that the chickens are put up, and we're going to call it a week. You have any final thoughts for anybody, Rebecca?
Oh, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving, because we didn't have the opportunity to say that.
Mm-hmm.
And good evening, and thank you for all dropping in.
Yeah, thanks again, guys, and hope to see you again next week, and be safe.